Next up, at UFC
card?
Vegas, 77. We're right there. At UFC Vegas 77, we have Evan Elder taking on Genaro Valdez. Evan Elder, 7-2 overall, 3-2 in his last 5. He is coming off that grappling loss to Natan Levy. He's taking on Genaro Valdez, 10-2 overall, 3-2 in his last 5.
I think it's Genaro.
He is Genaro. I got the flags mixed up. I need that graphics guy. Fight Talk only. Where are you at, man? I need some fucking help with these graphics.
Would that be Yvonne? No.
Yeah, I got the graphics. Oh, God, it's so fucking sloppy. Anyway, Genaro Valdez, incredibly well-rounded guy. I love saying well-rounded. He's primarily a grappler, though. He does have absolutely no issues getting into a slugfest. His striking can be wild. It can be fun. He uses it really well to set up those takedowns. He's only 1-2 in the UFC, but he has had an interesting run. He dominated his Contender Series win with 4 takedowns, a knockdown, and a second-round finish. And then he fought Matt Frivola. He was knocked down 4 times, which honestly just talks about how tough he is. And then most recently, he was completely out-grappled by Natan Levy. He's been in a whole bunch of different fights that looked very different ways. He's taking on Evan Elder. This guy's very talented. He's good everywhere. He's got loose striking. He lands heavy kicks, solid punching combinations. He's got nice takedowns as well. And when he hits the mat, he's going to stay composed and he's methodically going to work for control while still managing to land strikes and just rain down from the top. He does have solid submission defense. We saw that in his loss to Preston Parsons. He's coming off that loss to Nazim Sadikov where he had a knockdown, which was good. Striking looks solid overall.
Cool.
Takedown looks solid.
Cool.
He's just way too hittable, and that's the problem here. This line's moving like crazy.
Oh.
What?
Well, sounds like we see this fight the same way, Angie.
Maybe. I thought you picked... Well, we'll find out in a second. Anyway, the fact that he's hittable is the problem. More than a 3-1 favorite seems way wider than it needs to be. Both these guys have back-to-back losses. Both of them have lost to both grapplers and strikers. I think that Evan is actually probably going to win, so that's why I don't know if we read this the same way. I think he's probably going to win because I think he's just a tiny bit better everywhere except just straight-up BJJ. But he is very, very hittable, and he needs to stay out of trouble here because Genaro Valdez can crack, and I'm not laying down minus 326 on a guy that gets hit that often. So Evan Elder's the pick, but I'm fading the bet here. What do you think, Chicky Boy?
I 100% agree. I'm going with Evan Elder because his path to victory should be so obvious. It should just be the wrestling, the grappling, the control. Slow down this guy, Valdez, because he is going to be live early. Get all the danger away. Put him on his back and just win the fight that way. And Evan Elder has the ability to do that. He can get the takedowns. He can have the control. But Evan Elder will strike, and he is a pretty decent striker. But Angelo nailed it. He does get hit. He got clipped in his last fight. And if there's a guy you do not want to be in the pocket and box against, it is Valdez. I know he can get dropped as well. And maybe Evan Elder is coming in this fight knowing he's getting dropped and thinking, oh, I want to knock this guy out too. And all of a sudden, Valdez is landing the shots. When he lands heavy. I mean, he almost knocked out Frivola in that matchup. Even when he was hurt, he lands heavy. Against Natan Levy, he was getting destroyed by Natan Levy's kicks. But in the boxing exchanges, he was winning pretty much every single boxing exchange against Natan Levy. If he comes in, speaking of Evan Elder, if he comes in and tries to just stand and bang, this is a fucking coin toss fight. I mean, this turns into a 50-50 fight. But if he comes in with the game plan, with the wrestling, on the feet, throw some kicks, keep your distance, and do not try to just stand in the pocket and box this guy. It should be an easy win. So Evan Elder could come in and look like, oh my God, he should have been a minus 600 favorite with the wrestling or whatever. Or he could come in and be like, holy fuck, he just fucked up my parlay. I don't know what to expect. I love it, Evan Elder, former lock of the week. Got the cut. He was on his way to winning that fight. The cut stopped, that was a couple months ago, but he's a tough dude, man. I love Evan Elder, and he should dominate this fight. I mean, he should dominate this fight, but we'll see what the game plan is.
I'm surprised. I am surprised we both read that the same way. I thought you would have agreed with this line movement. But again, what I say earlier, right? It's a sketchy card. So mid-level favorites are going to balloon up to giant favorites because people just feel like they have to put their money on something. And There's
Probably some
there's
FOMO
not
too. Anytime you see that a lot, anytime the line starts moving, it just all of a sudden it'll just keep moving because people are like, holy shit, why is it moving? Let me throw some money on it before it moves more, like stocks.
Well, and I pump the line movement tracker because I think it's very important to see that movement, because to do exactly what I do, where I watch the tape, first I look at my notes, then I'll go ahead and watch tape if I need to. I'll break it down. Then I'll look at the odds. And I'm almost just like, Jesus Christ, those are the odds. And then I'll look at what the opening odds were, and it's like, what? This is the trend? And it'll actually make me less confident, because if I only saw the minus 326 and didn't see what it opened at, I actually probably would have been a little more confident in Evan Elder. I probably would have been like, okay, all right. But the fact that I saw what the opening odds were, then I saw the current odds, I was like, no, that is actually what it should have been. And it actually helps me stay away from spots like this. So if you want to get yourself access to that line movement tracker, it's only $10 a month for every single thing we've ever done at WeWantPicks.com. DraftKings, $9,400, full fade at $9,400. He's not a finisher. And Genaro Valdez is a pretty tough guy. He's not going to get finished.
That could end up being, like I said, kind of like if you want to play that money line too. It could look like the best value or the worst value. I think what's worth the sprinkle in this. You can get Genaro Valdez round 1 KO TKO, because I think that's pretty much the only time he's really going to be like super live. Plus 1,100 for that. I think that's worth the sprinkle. That's
What's
good value.
A sprinkle to you? Serious question. I'm not being a dick.
If I was sprinkling that and my units are $100, I'd put like 10, 15 on it just to.
It's funny because. It's funny talking in units and then talking in real money, because we talk in units for your sake, because some of you bet, just $10 a fight, which is totally fine. Some of you bet $1,000. So the reason you talk in units is it normalizes all of it. So if I say 1 unit, that means I'm pretty confident. And if your units are $10, okay, I'll do a unit. That's why we talk in units. But my units
are a little different too. Mine are $100, but typically when people are betting $100, they're not betting as much as me on a card, because I'm putting $1,500 to $3,000 on a card.
Yeah, in reality, your units are probably too small with the amount of money you're spending.
Right,
but
yeah.
Anyway, my point is, last week at UFC 290, so unit for me is $100. A lot of my bets are less than a unit. A lot of half a unit, like $50 bets, stuff like that. I threw $20 on what's his name, because it would have paid $240. So in my mind, I'm like, it's $20. Who cares? But then when you put it on paper and it's 0.2 units, but then I only have a quarter of a unit on a round line that I'm actually somewhat confident in, it's just funny how that muddies the water when you talk real dollars versus just units. So that's why I was curious. Because a sprinkle to me is, I agree, it's $20. It's $20. Who cares? But then when I log the actual bets at that same number, it's like, well, I do care about that. That's not $20. That's a quarter of a unit. So it's just so funny talking like that. Yeah.